my God, I love your skirt. Where did you get it? That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
Zohran Mamdani.
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
God, Mr. Duvall, can you wrap it up?
So Donald Trump, turn the volume up.
2 weeks ago, I watched Mean Girls for the first time. I thought, let's have some fun with a high school comedy about girls and gossip. But as I kept watching, I realized, oh, she is not like the other girls. This is not your typical high school movie. Sure, it has all the elements of your typical high school movie. You've got a romance, you've got the girl next door, a queen bee. But the way the plot is structured, a conspiracy to overthrow a tyrannical despot, the schemes that take place in the shadows to stage a coup, and replace one dictator with another. Let me tell you my genuine shock when I realized the filmmakers merged two very different genres into one seamless political thriller in a high school. Hi, my name is Shri, and let's spend some time together.
Regina George. How do I even begin to explain Regina George?
A good political thriller is only as good as its main villain. So let's ask the obvious question. Who is Regina George? Regina is what I'd like to call the cult of personality dictator. Many people hate her, but the aura around her is undeniable. She's famous because she's popular. Just like Putin's invincibility or Donald Trump's quick wit, her followers think of her as this godlike deity.
Regina George is flawless. She has 2 Fendi purses and a silver Lexus.
I hear her hair's insured for $10,000.
Simply put, without this admiration, she would have no power. As is obvious in the future, when Katie didn't get the same godlike appreciation when she gained power in the future. But we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves. If I had to make a real comparison though, the one instance that comes to mind is the dictator Nursultan Nazarbayev. He ruled Kazakhstan from 1984 to 2019, and when he stepped down, his successor Kassym-Jomart Tokayev did not get the same adoration. People called him toothless and even referred to him as Nazarbayev's furniture. What does this mean? It means that no matter how much Regina is hated, she is also powerful because of her cult of personality. So what does it take to bring down a cult of personality? The best person for this job is a good rebel leader.
Regina George is an evil dictator. Now, how do you overthrow a dictator? You cut off her resources.
You can't really call yourself a proper dictator if you didn't make some enemies along the way. Most of the time, a dictator's true enemy is one who is exactly like him or wants the same power as him. Enter Janice Ian. Janice is interesting because she had the same beginnings as Regina George.
Let me tell you something about Janice Ian. We were best friends in middle school. I know, right?
I believe that if Janice and Regina remained friends since the beginning, she would have been one of the plastics, or her loyal ministers, as I'd like to say. Both Regina and Janice started out as best friends, but Regina saw a threat within Janice. She was beautiful, ambitious, and worst of all, funny. She had more personality than Regina and even had a kind heart. That is fatal to a dictator because that means you have an equal cult of personality. So Regina did what any dictator would do. She undermined her threat and spread false rumors about her.
Janice, I can't invite you because I think you're a lesbian. I mean, I couldn't have a lesbian at my party.
Janice fell off, she lost, but she came back, like any other proper rebel leader would do, and this time she didn't come alone. We see this undermining and smearing of the opposition many times in politics.
Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing.
What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
There's a catch. If you undermine your opposition too much, you may end up making them look like a sympathetic character.
India's opposition leader Rahul Gandhi has been disqualified from parliament after he was sentenced to 2 years in prison in a criminal defamation case.
This would allow them to come back with even more venom, and the public will listen because they'll think, if they are being silenced this much, maybe they have something important to say.
She's a Brazilian model. That's a stock photograph, and she's one of 25 lakh such records in Haryana.
In fact, if you go too hard, you may end up making them the people's champion as the underdog. But it's rarely ever the case that a rebel leader overthrows a dictator all on his own. So what does a rebel leader need?
Her name is Caddy Heron. Where are you, Caddy?
That's me. It's pronounced like Katie.
Katie Heron is not your average girl next door. She's pretty, she's a math genius, and unbeknownst to Regina, she is a strategist. Maybe it's her math skills, maybe it's navigating life in a foreign land all her life.
So if you're from Africa, why are you white?
But the one thing that sets her apart from the plastics is her ability to blend in and lay low. She has all the makings of a perfect spy. Janice notices this, and instead of telling her not to hang out with the plastics, she exploits this opportunity to infiltrate the dictator's inner circle.
You are gonna have to keep hanging out with them like nothing is wrong. Can you do it?
I can do it.
Hey, let's rock this bitch.
Regina might be a baby dictator in the making, but she knew what any good dictator knows. You must keep the inner circle happy, whether it means taking revenge on their behalf.
Oh, this is Susan from Planned Parenthood. I have her test results.
Or adoring them with makeup and compliments. Regina knows that a foreign enemy is not as scary as the enemy within. So even though she doesn't care about Janice, she is well aware that her ministers are the most likely to get the upper hand and take over. So what happens when a dictator pushes her inner circle too hard?
Because that's not what Rome is about. We should totally just stab Caesar!
Regina makes two very obvious mistakes a dictator should never make. First, she undermined and demeaned Katie. Katie would have been fine with the small jabs here and there, but taking away her love interest, stabbing her in the back so blatantly, that was not just a sign of disrespect, it was clear to Katie that she would gain nothing by being with Regina. And because she's a strategist, she wanted to take her down from within. Second, Regina undermined one of her oldest and most loyal ministers, Gretchen Wieners. Gretchen fell for the same cult of personality and worshipped Regina, but unlike the rest of the students, Gretchen comes from money. Her father was the inventor of toaster strudel after all.
I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, would be too pleased to hear about this.
So if Gretchen was not going to get respect or equal opportunity like the other plastics, why should she stay?
You can't sit with us!
See, there's a reason why Hissene Habre, the president of Chad, once said that the enemies are not to be found abroad. They are close to us and even within our ranks. The illusion that allows the dictator to keep running on the power treadmill is because his most loyal elite, often referred to as the winning coalition, will get some benefits if they back the dictator. Once they lose said benefits, they have no reason to see the dictator on that treadmill. They'll just replace him with another tyrant or try to take that power for themselves. It is estimated that around 65% of dictators that fell between 1950 to 2012 did so because of regime insiders. It's your own in-group that backstabs you. Katie knew this, and so did Janice, so their priority was always to break trust amongst the loyalists. But what's even greater than breaking the trust of loyalists?
What?
When Catherine the Great took power over Russia, she did so by overthrowing and possibly executing her husband, Peter III. This didn't happen overnight, by the way. Catherine didn't just wake up one night and decide to usurp her own king. Peter had taken to insulting and demeaning his wife in front of his guests. He also had a mistress named Elisaveta whom he planned to replace Catherine with. He also took to demeaning almost all members of the court, some of whom helped Catherine in her endeavor as a result. Why? Because just like Regina, Peter made a fatal mistake. He didn't keep his loyal insiders happy. So Catherine, just like Katie, an outsider from Germany,
But I love Russia more. You're not even Russian.
Embraced Russian culture and successfully orchestrated the coup d'etat that overthrew her own husband and landed him in prison where he died almost immediately. Why am I sharing this? Because both Katie and Janice knew that if you can get the loyal ministers by your side, getting the king on your side is an even bigger threat to the queen. A dictator becomes absolutely weakened if she has no one left on her side to keep up this illusion of power. So how does one go about executing this coup d'etat exactly?
The CIA would love it if you two could take him out.
You want us to assassinate the leader of North Korea?
Yes.
What? Janice, Damien, and Katie come up with absurd attempts to take down Regina. Some worked, some backfired. It involved replacing Regina's face cream with a foot cream, giving her a nipple-less top, pitting her against Gretchen and Janice for Spring Fling Queen, and poisoning her with Caltine bars.
Yeah, you know, there's some weird ingredient in them that's not legal in the US yet.
Ephedrine?
No.
But wait, You must be thinking, okay, now we're in proper high school comedy territory, right? There's no way someone would actually do this kind of stuff to take down an actual dictator. Boy, do I have a surprise for you. When Fidel Castro overthrew Batista in 1959 and became the new leader of Cuba, the US government came up with more and more absurd ways to take down Castro. Their plans became so outlandish that they almost resembled an SNL skit. They tried to lace Castro's shoes with thallium salts so that his beard would fall out, spray his compound with hallucinogens, give him an exploding cigar, replace his diving suit with a diseased one so he would get smallpox or some shit, and even thought of like plans to blow him up underwater because he loved diving. Most of these plans never came to fruition, by the way, and Castro died at the ripe old age of 90. So if you ever thought that giving Regina Caltine bars to make her fat, or giving a fictional Kim Jong-un ricin during a handshake in the interview was far-fetched, history would like a word with you.
That's where you're going, fat ass!
Out of all the schemes that Janice and Katie had planned, the one that was the most effective was Katie's idea, giving her a Caltine bar. Regina banked her fame heavily on her looks, which chipped away more and more as she gained weight.
We only carry sizes 1, 3, and 5. You could try Sears.
When even the fat girl bullies you in the cafeteria, it's a clear sign that your power is waning off. We see this time and time again in real life and in fiction, when Trump was very confused recently when an entire stadium booed him, or in the interview where a fictional Kim Jong-un couldn't convince his people that he doesn't pee or poo.
Excuse me. Did you just shark? It was the dead camera guy.
Dictators are usually the last to know that they aren't as popular as they used to be. This is known as the dictator's dilemma, where a dictator is surrounded by sycophants who fear him, and because of that, no one dares tell him the truth.
I cannot respond with anything less than the totality of my strength.
This means that Gretchen can't tell Regina that she's displeased with her behavior, Karen can't tell Regina that she's getting fat, and Katie, well, Katie knows when it's best to shut up. So what does a dictator do when he loses power? Well, 3 things. 1, step down and accept his loss. Not gonna happen. 2, ignore it and keep going as if nothing is wrong. Or 3, and this is why people don't usually fuck with a dictator, go nuclear.
I hope that nobody else ever does see it.
Dictators have never used a weapon of mass destruction on their own people, but the scary part is they have the power to. But just because a dictator has never nuked his own country doesn't mean that he hasn't used other methods to divide his people. When Regina is backed into a corner, she feels that she has no choice but to use the burn book on everybody, a weapon she designed in the first place, contributed by her loyalists, which has the capacity to create the most division and utter chaos. This is no different than the crowd control methods governments and dictators use to take care of mass protests, whether it's a silent but deadly audio weapon that causes hearing loss, or the blatant human rights violations in Tiananmen Square or Jallianwala Bagh. Power-hungry leaders, when backed into a corner, have no shame but to turn on his own citizens. Sometimes this division can also be covert. In the fictional setting of V for Vendetta, the conservative party Norsefire rose to power after the massacre at St. Mary's School, which later turns out to be orchestrated by the party itself to sow doubt. They could never let this truth come out, and they will take every measure to control the crowd, even if it means firing at innocent civilians. Using the burn book against the school may seem like a clever move, but it really shows how vulnerable and desperate Regina is. She tries to use one final solution to get her power back, but even she knows that the old glory is gone. So it's over, right? The rebels won. But what happens when things aren't so rosy amongst the rebels themselves?
I'll tell you why, because you are a mean girl. You're a bitch.
From the beginning, both Janice and Katie bonded over their shared hatred for Regina, but Janice and Katie were also schemers and plotters. Schemers usually aren't like normal folk, and they both have one common thing with the dictator. They both desire power and revenge. Janice was oppressed her whole life by this tyrant, so she had some good reasons to get back at Regina. But Katie, it became obvious both to Janice and to us that Katie wanted to be the new queen bee just because she liked how it felt. She enjoyed the power. She liked looking and feeling and talking like Regina, to the point where her outfits became identical to Regina's, and so did her speech patterns.
Love ya. Bye.
She even started to use the same attack tactics like Regina, not at her enemies, but at her own co-conspirators.
You know what? It's not my fault you're like in love with me or something. What?
Oh no, she did not.
Another thing usurpers don't get is that you cannot lose your nerve when you make your move. Janice and Katie let their coup become fallible when they both lost trust in each other. It's the same thing that happened between two real-life co-conspirators, Banka Mane and Lamin Sane, in their bid to take down Gambia's brutal dictator, Yahya Jammeh. Jammeh Sane Mane. Both Mane and Sane almost succeeded in staging their coup, except for one mistake. Banka Mane lost his nerve. He was already the peace-loving human rights activist amongst the two, and when the guards fired at them when they stormed the palace, hitting Sane, Banka fled. He ended up in a cushy United States prison, but the point remains. If you want to overthrow a dictator, you better not break up with your ally. But both Jammeh and Mane, or Regina and Katie, or any dictator past or present, don't see coming the one thing they can't run away from is a bullet.
Take that fake apology and shove it right up your hairy...
Katie got very lucky that God played the assassin's role in taking down Regina, because in most cases, assassinations are common throughout history when it comes to taking down a dictator. Whether it's conducted by the US government, as in the case of Saddam Hussein, or a lone vigilante disillusioned by his government, assassination is the final stage of toppling a regime when all other methods have failed. Like Regina though, most of the time these assassination attempts fail, and by some miracle the dictator survives. The best example of this is Operation Valkyrie, a real-life assassination attempt to take down one of the most notorious dictators in history. Everything went according to plan except one thing. Hitler didn't die when the bomb went off. You can imagine what happened to all the rebels afterwards. This is why assassinations are not just frowned upon, they're also fruitless in their endeavors. You take down one dictator. What do you think happens? Well, if the dictator didn't keep his affairs in order, it means that no successor is appointed, leading to a power vacuum, which could breed even worse dictators, like in the case of Saddam Hussein's assassination, which eventually led to the birth of ISIS. The second thing that could happen is that the people may not accept the new dictator in charge. Most would either think that you don't deserve it, or in the case of old loyalists, you may not provide the same benefits as the old dictator did, so why should they back you? There is a third reason that if the dictator is still alive, that means that she is still adored by some people, which means that she can take over any time via a second coup d'etat. Should it be wise to support a new queen bee when the old queen bee still isn't out of the picture? So what's the solution? If not one dictator or the other, what's the next best move for the people?
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Get your hand off my penis!
Before Regina ate the front grille of a bus, the school had its first hint of a democratic vote. They were able to express what they felt about each other for the first time, and they soon found out who was the most popular candidate after all. Let me give you a hint. It wasn't Regina. Dictators never have to worry about what the general population thinks of them. They can stage mock elections, hire actors to pretend to be citizens for a video, or even have fake supermarkets to show abundance.
Liar! You liar!
This is why it's so important for democracy to flourish in a country. When the Gen Z Nepal protests happened, it wasn't because their social media got shut down. Come on. It was years of a brewing hatred towards a government meddled in corruption. And as a result, the old regime was overthrown and the citizens did not give up their democratic rights. They cleaned their own streets the next day and elected a new president via Discord. You love to see it, folks. It's also why Katie gave up her crown in the end. Even though it was a free and fair election,
I'm gonna vote for Regina George because she got hit by that bus.
I'm voting for Katie Heron because she pushed her.
Katie knew that she would be upholding the same system that kept everyone oppressed like before.
It's really just... Jared,
So sharing the crown meant dividing the power amongst the people, the true leaders in a democracy where everyone gets a say. Dictators can come and go. Sometimes a flourishing democracy can fall into totalitarian regimes. Other times, totalitarian regimes give way to a democracy. Whether it's one or the other, you and I have to be extra careful to spot the signs where a country is heading based on people's sentiments, a leader's actions, or the state of our economy. Worry not, my friends, because like all things, even dictators have a time limit. The idea for this video spawned directly out of my reaction to Mean Girls, so I think you're gonna enjoy that next. Check it out and I will see you there. Thanks for spending time with me.